Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines. The Ripple and IMF director discussing bridge for CBDC for the new financial system. We got that for you today. And the ruble. How's the sanctions going in Russia? We're going to talk about that. Update from Congress. You're going to want it. CFTC has known XRP was a currency, and we're going to show you proof of it. We got Goldman Sachs and Barclays, El Salvador president meeting with 32 central banks in 44 countries. We'll tell you for what, and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at Dig Perspectives at the top of the screen, Facebook at Digital Perspectives, and Digital Perspectives News on Facebook, and Digital Perspectives with no spaces on TikTok. That page is growing very quickly. Make sure you give us a like and follow there. Market cap today for crypto, $1.322 trillion, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of money missing, and we're back down 2% on the market cap. Bitcoin right now, $29,500. Ethereum, almost $2,000 flat. XRP is 41 cents. Let's take a look at the range of price really quickly here. 42 cents now, 41 cents on the bottom, 45 on the top. We'll keep an eye on it. We're off by 2.70% this morning, or this afternoon, I should say, excuse me. And I'm telling you, I made a decision. Now, I've always had a portion of my assets on Ledger, and I use Ledger Nano, and I've been very happy with it for years now. And I'm telling everybody just my personal decision. You can do whatever you need to, but I've decided to move my XRP holdings, which were recently in the vault, off of Coinbase because of the disclaimer they had, which seems like fine print. But for me and my safety, I'm moving it over to cold storage, and I can always prove where I bought my assets because I bought them on registered exchanges. So with that being said, there is a link underneath the video for that. Be careful what you're doing, and make sure, if anything, we're in a high risk, highly volatile asset class that we're invested in. It is very early. And just one thing I want to add to that is that, I'm always looking to understand that I know I take a lot of risk, but where along the way can I begin to minimize some of those risks and trim that down, right? And that's one of the things I'm doing. So not financial advice, but make sure you check out the links. Ruble nears a 5-year high against the euro. The Russian currency is the world's best performing this year, according to Bloomberg. Well, when you wonder how these sanctions are working out, really teaching Russia a lesson, I got to say, it doesn't look like they're really having an impact here. This is a problem, ladies and gentlemen, because if you want the war to end in Russia and Ukraine, which I know I do as well as everybody else, you got to see Russia feel some real pain here, and it doesn't seem like it's actually happening. Very quickly here, I covered this morning, but FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried poured cold water on Bitcoin, saying that it is not good as a means of payments. He was just telling the truth. So make sure you understand what it is that you hold. It is not really viable for a payment solution. Update in Congress this week. You're going to want this, and I want to bring you right to where we're at here. So this week from Ron Hammond, shout out to you, Ron. Appreciate everything you do. He says for the past several months, Congress has hosted multiple hearings, briefings on stablecoins. Obviously, due to the collapse of the algorithmic stablecoin US Terra, right, it has been really brought to the fore because until then, it was really only heavily focused in Congress and the President's Working Group on fiat-backed stablecoins. So with that being said, right now it says that even amid the crash last week, Secretary Janet Yellen from the Treasury testified several times that Congress needs to craft a comprehensive bipartisan regulatory didn't mean for that notification to happen there. Regulatory framework for stablecoins. That is a pretty tough lift for a number of reasons. One, this is an election year, meaning Congress has little more than 50 days of votes before November. Partisan tensions are high as each party focuses on campaigning, messaging themes, inflation, Roe versus Wade, economy, Russia, gun violence, etc. Bipartisanship is tough around this time. However, that doesn't mean it's impossible, and there has been bipartisan support around the regulation of stablecoins. Several members of Congress have introduced bills on this topic. I can confirm there will be more released in the coming weeks. This next one, number 6, you're really going to want to pay attention to, ladies and gentlemen. Typically, regulators will act in an event Congress does not. I'll say that one more time. Typically, regulators will act in the event Congress does not. But Secretary Yellen repeatedly pushed this framework needs to come from Congress. I'm going to share something with you in a second. These people lie. You know, a natural starting point will be the president's working group recommendations, but even some Democrats disagree on points like all issuers have to be banks. It goes on to talk about the good news in Congress that made a good point to learn about stablecoins rather than calling for a blanket ban or one-size-fits-all approach. They understand there's a difference between Libra, USD coin, CBDCs, and US Terra. Not all, but many of the major players on this topic. But what is right approach to a comprehensive regulatory framework still is a tough task, and Congress doesn't have much time. Getting a bill through the regular legislative process takes time, and many members have different views on the best approach. So what will happen over the next few weeks, we'll likely see regulators step up enforcement in the crypto ecosystem, a la watch out for exchanges to be sued, just as John Deaton has talked about. Congress likely will have a hearing on several briefings on recent crash and springboard those educational efforts into legislative text. It says here, as the proposals become public, many of the key stakeholders will try to reach a compromise that they believe can both be bipartisan and comprehensive as requested by Secretary Yellen. The problem is that many don't know where to start with algos, and that will consume time. Is it possible something gets done by the end of the year? Yes, but not a high chance, solely given the plethora of other political issues. Additionally, there are so many divisions of the issue of prudent regulation, especially on the Dem side, which will make it hard to move. And it goes on to fill that out. Now, here we go. So we know it's unlikely, but I'm going to share with you, for one, before we get out of here, as we move through this material, I'm going to show you an article where Janet Yellen goes beyond asking Congress to do something. And I'm going to prove it to you. But before we do that, I'm going to prove to you that the CFTC confirms back in 2017 that, in fact, they understood that it was a currency. Ripple XRP was a currency right here. August 29, 2017. It is important to note that there are many other virtual currencies with sizable market capitalization that are built upon various blockchain technologies, but may have different characteristics or functionalities than Bitcoin, including Ethereum or Ether, Litecoin, and Ripple. They understood. They know what the deal is. But for all of this delay, the SEC suing Ripple, I have to believe that there is another narrative here, and it's going to cause us to really consider another option of the outcome of this case, potentially, because we don't know what it is. And you know what? And until we do, everything's on the table until it's not. Right here, we see what else is on the table is Goldman Sachs, working with United Kingdom's Barclays, have joined a $70 million Series A funding round for institutional crypto trading platform. Doesn't sound like the institutions are scared about the dip in this market, does it? Because they're not. I'm not going to play this clip because I played it in this morning's video, so you can watch it there. But in this clip, we saw Rostin Benham pictured in here, basically acknowledge that he believes Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities without any question to him, which begs the question, did you not see the video of Joseph Lubin teaching investors how to disguise their identities to invest in the fundraiser for the first ever ICO in crypto, which was Ethereum? Are you now endorsing ICOs as commodities? Where is the credibility in this system? I have to ask. Look right here, because there's more pressure going on around the globe, speaking of crypto and Bitcoin and making things legal tender and understanding what they are. This is the president of El Salvador saying tomorrow 32 central banks and 12 financial authorities in 44 countries will meet in El Salvador to discuss financial inclusion, digital economy, banking the unbanked, the Bitcoin rollout, and its benefits in our country. Well, listen, don't be fooled by this, because there's many other protocols out here, value protocols, that can do a lot better for wherever you wanted to introduce it than Bitcoin and the Lightning Network. We saw evidence of that from CNBC's reporting, where they did a couple transactions. It took 2 to 8 hours, and they never bought what they intended to. And one transaction, they were charged without getting the goods. Something to think about. This is the question. This is from Stephen Hubert here. Shout out to you, Stephen. He says, just in case you're wondering what a dismissal would look like, the commission has determined that it is in the public's best interest to dismiss these proceedings. This is not the SEC versus Ripple. This is not that. But he is showing us what an SEC dismissal, dropping a case, would look like if we're concerned about that possibly being an outcome for the SEC versus Ripple. And this is it. This is what it would look like. It's very simple. The commission has determined that in its public interest to dismiss these proceedings. It's just that simple. They brought the case and they could drop the case. What does that mean? We would have no clarity for XRP through the legal case. Well, remember that Janet Yellen has encouraged Congress, right? But remember what else I showed you about that. And let me just show right here again, very quickly before we get there. Number 6 was, typically regulators will act in the event that Congress does not. Remember that? Just showed it to you. There's what a dismissal would look like. And why would a dismissal happen? Because FSOC, the U.S. Treasury, and Janet Yellen, they said this last year. And I showed it and covered it then, and I'm reminding you now. The solution for stablecoins: only banks should issue stablecoins, plus anyone providing custodial cryptocurrency wallets should be subject to appropriate federal oversight. Failure to act would place a lot of people at risk, the report says. This is from the PWG. And if the Congress doesn't act, the working group recommended that the Treasury Department's Janet Yellen and Financial Stability Oversight Council, with his FSOC, I've been telling you this for over 2 years, take steps to designate some stablecoin activities as systemic risk, which could subject them to further federal scrutiny. Now, in this first clip of this, you're going to see Tom Emmer really grill Janet Yellen about whether or not stablecoins are a systemic risk, for which she says no. But immediately after that clip, I'm going to show you a clip from just 2 or 3 days prior to that, where she said they were a financial stability risk. Now, take a listen very quickly, because Tom Emmer is accusing the Biden administration of weaponizing FSOC and to pursue their personal agenda from the White House, which is not what the order and purpose of FSOC is. It is supposed to be an independent organization. But we have already seen, I just showed you the article of Janet Yellen telling you that they will act if Congress does not. And Ron Hammond just told us that there is a great chance that Congress won't get diddly squat done this year because elections are coming, right? So, and if elections are coming, and if the administration that's in right now feels like they're going to lose too many seats, they already understand they're not going to get any congressional work done, no legislation passed. And that may mean, well, that's why they're trying to rile the base with the recent Supreme Court leaking, right? And try to rile the Dems to go to the voting booth so they can keep the seats, maybe even add a couple to get things done. But if they don't, Janet Yellen can certainly come in and do it. I've already shown you. Take a listen.
The FSOC should step in to designate various stablecoin activities as systemic risks, which would jumpstart administration-wide regulatory rulemaking.
Listen.
Secretary Yellen, has the FSOC officially designated digital asset or stablecoin activities as systemic risks?
No, it has not done so.
Thank you.
No, it has not done so. Uh-oh. And it hasn't done so on an official level. But look what she said just 3 days before that. Uh-oh. Take a listen.
I think that simply illustrates that this is a rapidly growing product, and that there are risks to financial stability, and we need...
There's risks to financial stability, which does make it, in fact, a systemic risk. But we're not... And there you go. There you go. Now, there's more to that video, but I want to keep moving because I got more for you to see. So now I want to get to why these things would happen. Why am I showing you this? And why did I show you what a dismissal looks like that Stephen Hubert showed that we should think about considering? Because think of this. The SEC brings the case against Ripple. Now, I'm not saying this will happen, but it is speculative, and it's worth speculating on. There is a mad dash now, because I think the current administration realizes they're not going to get legislation passed, and I hope that they do, but I don't think they're going to. Ron Hammond doesn't think it's likely either. So in the likelihood that they don't do that, they know that FSOC can. Janet Yellen told us that, and I just proved it to you. And why would they do that? Because we have stablecoins breaking down. We have central banks taking losses. We have wealthy inequality skyrocketing. We have record global debt. We have stocks plunging. The global economy is slowing as central banks hike. This will end horribly. And I do believe that all of these things mentioned and many more are factors in why the U.S. Treasury could come out and declare that stablecoins are a systemic risk and begin to take hold of this crypto asset space, beginning with stablecoins. Now, what does that mean, and what does that have to do with Ripple and the SEC case? I'll tell you what it has to do with it. I know, and I've shown it many times, and I'm going to dig it up now. The World Bank refers to XRP and XLM as stablecoins. That's what they call them. And you have to ask yourself, regardless of that fact, could you see the delay of this SEC case dropped in a timely manner for when FSOC could come in and declare the value protocol, XRP Ledger, maybe even XLM, but certainly the XRP Ledger, a systemic risk, and they could actually, or systemically important, and a financial risk because of the benefits of it? And could that be what we're waiting for? We're all thinking we're going to get a settlement in the case because we need legal precedent, and I believe it. But if they were to drop the case and FSOC were to come in and deem the XRP Ledger and RippleNet and Liquidity Hub, all those elements systemically important, I believe you're going to have all the designation you need. All the clarity that you need is there in that moment. And that is a moment that could happen. Will it happen? I don't know. But I tell you, it's still on the table until it isn't. Now let's take a look at this, because speaking of what's on the table, and it strengthens the case of what we're talking about today, it's this right here. That's James Wallace right there, which is the head of central bank engagement and CBDCs for Ripple. And this is a division director for the IMF. And they're going to discuss with you the idea of having something be a bridge in between the CBDCs for the new financial system. Take a listen.
I think that the four areas of focus that Kieran mentioned are actually, those are the same objectives that, as an example, Ripple with RippleNet set out to achieve, right? So lower costs, faster, more transparency and greater access. And I think one of the big questions here is, what happens with the correspondent banking model? I think the role that the banking system plays is crucial in the global economy, and I think that will continue. But the sort of traditional model of, pre-funding accounts, for liquidity purposes, nostro-vostro accounts, it's proven that part of the correspondent banking model is not needed.
He just told you. We've already proven that pre-funding accounts, that model's been proven that it's not even needed. Keep listening.
Just to give you an example, within our RippleNet offering, we have sort of two options. One is fiat money, which is being used through the whole system, and that still does require some pre-funding. And then we have something called on-demand liquidity, which negates the need for pre-funding. That uses crypto asset as a bridge mechanism between one currency and another. The run rate on that is we're definitely not in the trillions of dollars at this stage, but the run rate is over $1 billion per month with that particular offering. So
to answer your question about public and private sector roles and the question about correspondent banking, perhaps a good example is just to look at the linking of fast payment systems. I think that there's a lot to be drawn from that. There are a lot of lessons to be drawn from that. So when we make a payment between banks domestically, we have solved the problem of interoperability. After all, each bank issues its own liability. You use, HSBC liabilities, and somebody else in England uses whatever other bank's liabilities. And we solve the problem of interoperability by doing two things. We've given both banks access to a common settlement infrastructure, and we have given both banks access to a common settlement asset, which is very safe. And that settlement asset is called central bank reserves, and the infrastructure is called some form of, fast payment system.
Some form of faster payment system. Keep listening.
So we've solved the problem of interoperability domestically. Internationally, across borders, we don't have such infrastructure, and we don't have a common settlement asset, which is riskless and both are willing to hold. So we what do? The private sector steps in, builds a bridge or many bridges, and asks for a toll to pass.
The private sector builds a bridge or bridges and then asks for a toll. There's a reason why the transaction cost is so efficient and so low for XRP, no matter whether the market is booming or whether the market is crashing. That's a very key point. There's another key reason why James Wallace from Ripple and central bank engagement is sitting in this meeting with the OMFIF and the Visa head and the IMF division director and the gentleman here, Kieran Murphy from the Financial Stability Board, and not the guy from, was it Jack Mallers from the Lightning Network, or even Joseph Lubin from Ethereum. That's going to do it for me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe, leave a comment below. This is getting good, ladies and gentlemen. I'll catch all of you on the next one.